East Coast Alex and West Coast Joe. And this is Comic Books from Coast to Coast. Today
Yep.
we're going to be looking at a couple of our favorite artists, and it took us a few minutes to figure this out and decide exactly which one. But I personally have picked out Tim Sale, and this is a rare piece of work from him. This is book one of Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb's Superman for All Seasons. What are you looking at, Alex?
Well, before we get into that, I kind of like to look at the previous brackets that we've done. The first week we did Wills Portacio and Liefeld, and Portacio won. And the week after that, we did Michael Turner and David Mazzucchelli, and Mazzucchelli has won. The polls are still up there, so you can still vote on all of them. But I think they're pretty much set. We've got like 19, 20 votes on each of them. So the more people that vote, the better it'll be. The better we'll know of which people like who a little bit more. Again, this is just a fun little thing. It's not it's not built to create controversy or anything. We all love these artists. They're all fantastic. It's not like one is really worse than the other. It's just a little bit of a personal preference or whatever. So, like Joe said, we're looking at Tim Sale and also Frank Quietly.
Yeah, we
And
have a
go
lot
ahead.
of artists. We have a lot of artist friends too, so we'd like to see you guys get out there and cast your vote for who you think is best in this. I know everybody's busy and everybody's got a lot of things going on, but try and pop by for a few seconds and throw us a comment and let us know what you think.
One of the things that I was really kind of hoping to do with this whole polling and looking at different artists and stuff is I'm trying to really gauge why people like certain art and why some people like other certain art. Is it line depth? Is it line variation? Is it lots of hatching? Is it So throw in some comments as well as to why you like a certain artist.
Honestly, I think it's it's just like the way people find someone attractive. You know what I mean? There's just like multiplicity of things out there, and everybody has like a cognitive pile of the things they think are attractive that sort of like
Yeah.
amalgam into what what they think is good. You know what I mean? And it could be so many different things, and something that might be really interesting to one person might be very uninteresting to another. Like, you know, I watched the comic book kayfabe guys a lot when they were around, and they would often talk about how they didn't really like the highly detailed guys. They would always say like, "Oh, that Homage Studios was not as interesting as Extreme Studios," and that kind of thing. And it's just like nuts to me, you know what I mean?
You're
Like,
right. Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
personally, hey, shouts out to all 15 people who dropped in and are looking at us right now. We just want to say thanks for you guys for watching, and
Yeah.
hopefully keep you guys interested for the next half hour or so. But yeah, like I'm a big Jim Lee guy. I'm a big Mark Silvestri. I like all the guys who draw, in the classic sort of Franklin Booth style, we'll call it. You know what I mean? And I think that's what the West Coast style is sort of like a very, oh, we got 25 people on here now all of a sudden. Come on,
I
man, throw
know.
us some likes. You guys got 25 people with no likes. What's up with that? Um, but yeah, I'm a really big fan of the West Coast style that Jim Lee, I want to say, made popular. And like a lot of other people have emulated that style over the years to lesser or poorer extent. You know what I mean? But a lot of other people, for like, I know for a fact, like you are a huge guy, Mobius,
Yeah.
and that's a very simple, clean line. I know that like Jeff Darrow is huge for people. There's people out there who love Dan Klaus. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just
Definitely.
outside
Definitely.
my world.
Everybody
How are you
does
gonna like Dan
different
Klaus
tastes.
over Jim Lee? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand that at all. Like, but whatever.
Well, that's there's humor people, there's action people, there's all kinds of people that everybody loves all these different kind of comics. I think comic books are comic books, but then when you boil it down even further, you get you kind of break it down into the different sections of what people like.
Oh, absolutely. I think you're 100% right. So, bearing all that in mind, we're just going to go ahead and jump into this stuff right here and just
Yeah.
like get going on some of the beautiful visuals going on. And, we're going to take a look at Tim Cell first. And it's just kind of, when we pick these artists out, we're trying to find people who are somewhat comparable to one another, which is why we chose Liefeld and Wiles, and although Mazzucchelli and Mike Turner might not seem like a natural thing, they're both really great storytellers, and I think that's what drew
Yeah.
our eye. And this one too, like you're going to see Tim Sale and
Frank Quietly.
yeah, Frank Quietly. They have very similar, ideals in the way they create their work, and their line work is kind of similar in a lot of ways, and they don't really follow that idea of the solid form, they're not Bridgman guys. They're not like Bern Hogarth dudes. You know what I mean? Their style
Right,
comes from
right.
somewhere more European, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't know where Tim Sale is from. Do you have any idea where he was from?
Honestly, I don't. But
Hmm.
I know he did amazing comics in America. I'm pretty sure he was American Cat to be, pretty sure, although I
I
don't
think he
know.
was American, but he also did the paintings on Heroes, I believe,
Did he?
the TV show. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think of the one the like Arab guy was painting the
Yeah,
guy who could see the
yeah,
future or whatever. Huh.
yeah.
I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure about that, but I'm not
But
totally sure.
this is him working on Superman. This is Tim Sale with Jeff Loeb writing and Brian Hanson on colors and Richard Starking doing the beautiful, hand done letters. Superman, of course, created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. And
Yep,
I was a
yep.
big fan of this book when it came out. And honestly,
You were or you weren't?
well, I am. I am,
Yeah.
period. I think it's a fantastic version of Superman. I think this is, of all the moderner incarnations of them redoing Superman, I think this is probably the best one and the most well presented. And right
See,
along the lines of like All Star Superman, it just delves into the ideas in really clean and meaningful ways.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
That page looks a lot like like Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns.
it does. It really does. And he might be influenced that could even be an influence for Tim Cell's work because, um, you know,
Wow, that's nice.
Jim, yeah, that's beautiful, right? Jim, it's like a 5-point perspective or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
this really gorgeous work, like the back, and it
yeah,
just gives you that instant inclination of Americana that Superman is supposed to send out to you. I mean, it's not tons of hatching. It's not a bunch of line work intonating grays and darks. You know what I mean? It's all just beautiful, just like graphic design. Like
yeah, yeah,
photographic. Like element, whatever. It's gorgeous work. But
yeah, yeah,
Tim Cell replaced Jim Lee on Death Blow, and Jim Lee was doing his, darndest Frank Miller and that stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah. Oh yeah, yep, yep.
So
I'm going to be while you're looking at the Superman, I'm going to be looking at Thieves World and just kind of flipping through this. I believe this is Tim Sale's first work, so it's kind of interesting to see what he grew into, and I believe that's several years after. What's the year that came out?
this is let's see here. Oh, 1998.
98. So this is, I don't think this came out in 86. I think that's when the books came out, but this was, well, yeah, maybe late 86. Says 86, but I think that this is probably later than that. Maybe 90,
Well, you
90,
gotta think through
91.
like it's probably art from way earlier than that because it probably took him a few years to put that together if he did that all on
Yeah,
his own
yeah,
before he was a pro or whatever. At
yeah,
least a
yeah,
year or two at the very least. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. But you can definitely tell even the differences between this and the Halloween, the
Oh
long
yeah, for
Halloween.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
You can
See,
tell the
I was
difference between
tempted.
that and this.
I was actually tempted to, show that piece of work or whatever. But I think, in all honesty, in my opinion, it's so much easier for a person to be good with Batman than it is with Superman. You know what I mean? Like Batman lends
Yeah,
like just about anyone who works on Batman, you don't even have to be that good of an artist. You know what I mean? Batman is just good. And if you get
yeah, yeah,
the types of things that are just like elementally good to draw and that people enjoy when you're doing Batman. And I find that
yeah,
Superman is a much more difficult character for people to tackle because he has so many like homespun elements and because he has a pureness that doesn't allow for sarcasms and things like that when you're writing him. You know what I mean? It's just a much more classically pure Americana type of character, and it's just a harder thing to deliver in a comic book, even regardless of what kind of incarnation of Superman you're doing, whether you're doing something very modern, whether you're doing something Silver Age. You know what I mean? Whatever you're trying to, intonate with your story, Superman is a tricky character to get, and a lot of people try and not, very few people succeed.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
You know what I
definitely.
mean?
I
There's not
always
that many people.
whenever I do Superman, I think I make him too muscular. Like I'm always, veins popping kind of Superman, and really you don't
Sure.
need that.
I think my Superman tends to be more, he leans towards more like a freaking Jim Lee Cyclops body type or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's not overly, I don't overly push the American football player vibe or whatever that he's always had. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
speaking of American football player, here's a great shot of Clark in his, in his Letterman coat right here.
Yeah.
Classic
Yeah.
bit with Lana Lane or whatever. And this book opens up with a great piece. Like I did just want to touch base because this is one of Jeff Loeb's like really great. He's really awesome in this. And I mean, he writes a lot of cool stuff, but this was particularly good. And I love this little bit at the beginning where it's all folks tend to call him the Man of Steel nowadays. And I guess that's and I guess he's the most famous person in the world. Not that he was ever interested in being a famous person in any way. Able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, change the course of mighty rivers faster than a speeding bullet. Well, we knew he was special, but people will talk. And believe it or not, there was a time before all that when he was just a man's son. My son, Clark. And that dude, like, that's so good.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
absolutely love that,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. And then how it goes into that scene of the farmhouse and everything where it really
yeah,
drives
yeah.
home
His
the
dad is out
simpleness.
there, he's out there plowing the field, and my dad was a farmer too, and I grew up on a farm very similar to this. And just like this, like every year when you plow, new rocks show up because they get plied up from the year before. And,
Yeah.
his dad is out there. He's hit a rock that's come up from way deep, and he can't get it up and he can't get it out. And here comes Clark, with his hands behind his back, just completely unassuming. And, he's like, "Can I help, Dad?" And he's just like, "Oh, gosh, you're not going to be able to get that. It's a really big one." And he just reaches in and pulls it out with one hand or whatever.
Yeah.
And even his
Yeah.
dad is just like, "Man, what is going on?" Because I'm sure Clark's always been strong or whatever, clearly, but he's hitting puberty now, you know what I mean? And it's just like, boom, he's like, the parents are like starting to wonder, like, boy, what have we unleashed? You know what I mean? Because, like,
Right. Right. Right.
so that's
So
displaying. Go ahead.
yeah. So who inks that?
Uh, Tim Sale does the inks and the
He did
pencils.
the inks too.
Yeah, yeah.
One thing, do you like Clark's face and Superman's face?
I love everything about it. I love how, like, okay, not unlike the Quietly stuff that we're about to look at, he does a wonderful job of keeping the face distinctive, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, he keeps that very large chin area and the tiny
Yeah.
mouth and
Yeah.
nose, you know what I mean? Which gives him
Yeah.
like an imposing feel, but it gives him a certain kind of innocence as well. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
he's a very large, imposing guy who you could tell like he fears his presence to people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Clark
Yeah.
doesn't want to seem overly, he probably walks into a room slow. He probably dips his head when he walks down, slumps his shoulders to seem smaller like everybody else. Cause it's weird when you're like that big giant kid your whole life and you are always out of sorts compared to everybody else. Here's this great shot of his parents, and they're worried, you know what I mean? They're tripping on, he's changing, no, he's becoming different. And, they're
Yeah.
very aware of it. And they're, on the other side of the farm talking about him, because they're worried about he's their boy, you know what I mean? But they book on the idea that they've raised him right, and that they've
Yeah.
given
Yeah.
him all the right tools. And that
I
even if, he's someone with these incredible abilities, that hopefully they've instilled in him the right, kind of, what's the right
Yeah.
word I'm thinking of,
Morals and stuff. Yeah.
morals, yeah,
Yeah. Well,
morality to, handle that
when
kind of thing.
we're gonna have to do a whole video on Superman and maybe a couple videos or a few videos and
Yeah,
kind of
and
talk
all the
about the
characters,
differences
yeah,
between.
that
Well,
make
the
them
thing is,
fascinating.
they change in every Superman story. They change the dynamic of his parents and like I don't know how you feel about the Kevin what's his name um the one where he lets him die um that
I don't
that
know.
that person.
Is it a
Um,
film or or a
yeah,
story?
yeah, it's that first film with oh, I'm getting old man brain, I guess. Um, it's that
With
first
Christopher
film
Reeve?
where there's like the hurricane and Clark's gonna save everybody, but Kevin Costner is like shakes his head no.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. In the yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, the last one, the Zack Snyder
Yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah. We're gonna have to go through all that
You
and
know,
see
it's
what
funny
we
the
like and we
tornado
don't
because
like.
I feel like that was very influenced by this because in here there is a tornado sequence. You know what I mean? They
Yeah,
do have another tornado. Look how great that
that's
is, dude.
awesome. That's
Look how
awesome.
cool. And then
Great
all way,
coloring too.
yeah, way over here is the farmhouse. This little dot is the farm. You know what I mean? And it's coming. Clark's a mile away. You know, and it's coming
He
right
doesn't
for his
color it, does
parents.
he?
You know, no, no, the
He
colors are by a very talented gentleman by the name of Brian Hanson.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Beautiful
nice.
color.
That's
Yeah, it's
awesome. That's
gorgeous. Like,
fantastic.
look at the clouds, dude. Like, what? It's
Yeah,
so beautiful. Yeah.
yeah,
But I thought this was cool right here because he's, his parents are on the other side of the room talking, but Clark's in his bedroom listening to him. You know what I mean?
yeah,
He's
yeah,
sitting there in his room and he can hear every word they're saying. And
yeah.
Clark's worried too. You know what I mean? He doesn't want to grow up and become a monster. He doesn't want to grow up and become something detrimental to the world that's raised him. And Superman is a classic. It's a classic. I come from another country story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
You
He's an
know,
immigrant.
yeah, he's an immigrant. He came here and he just wants to make good. He wants to be good. He wants to make good. He wants to show the people, just like any immigrant, that I'm a worthwhile member of your society. Like,
Yep. Yeah.
and that was a big part of the immigrant story. In the 30s and 40s. My parents were immigrants. My parents, well,
Everybody's were. Unless you're
everybody's
Native
what
American, then you're an
my
immigrant.
my mother's side was like here, like at the Puritan times at some point,
Yeah, me
because they
too.
were already here during the Civil War. But my father's side actually didn't come to America until like the 1920s, and he was
Yeah.
only like 14 or 15 when they came or something. And they're from the Azore Islands, so my parents were definitely immigrants when they
Azore
came here.
Islands, is that Scottish? Azore
Portuguese. It's off the coast of
Portuguese?
it's off the
Oh,
coast of Portugal
oh
and
yeah.
Spain.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was kind of wondering about that.
So
Yeah,
I'm Portuguese and Macedonian.
that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, my mother's side goes directly back to the Mayflower, and but my dad's
Nice.
side, my grandmother was from Sweden, so she's like she was as relative as relatively close as you can get.
I always wonder about that last name, Turban, man. Like, what
Yeah.
is that?
Oh, that's Russian.
Okay. I thought maybe it would be Russian or it might be the Dracula one. What is it?
Oh yeah, Transylvanian or
Well, it's not
whatever.
Transylvania. It's something else now or whatever. But
Yeah, yeah,
Romania. Romania.
Romanian or
Yeah, I
something
thought it
like
might
that.
be Romania. Yeah. But here we go. Like, I'm about to shut out here and hand it over to you for the other half of the video. But a couple quick more shots of just the gorgeous Tim Cell art, looking very heavy,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
soft,
that's
beautiful folds,
beautiful.
faster than a speeding train. You know what I mean? Faster than a speeding locomotive. And then he's just handling all the tropes beautifully. Like Tim
Look at
Cell, we
those
miss you so much.
backgrounds. Those backgrounds are so good, and you can see the accomplishments that he made over the years and
Yeah,
how much
yeah,
he got better. I mean, look,
yeah.
these
That was the cool
backgrounds are
thing.
okay, but
That's the cool thing about looking at an early work like you have and then comparing it to something like this that's so accomplished.
yeah,
Because like, yeah, I mean, look at that. See, I mean, they're just like going in, and this is just like there's barely even line
that's
weight to
nuts.
these things up here. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah,
just coming in
yeah,
fast and just do. But you see, he like comes down and like he's getting blown up from the from the tornado, and he gets sucked into the air. But then he realizes like he's controlling himself, and now he just sees his dad. And he just is like, or no, it's not even his dad. It's just like one of the neighbors or whatever, like about to get wiped out
right.
by this thing. And he just comes down and just like, boom, and just grabs this guy. You know what I mean? And he's just like, what?
That's
So
awesome. That's
cool.
awesome.
Just the whole thing blows up and he just dumps down and just like saves this dude's life. You know what I mean? And the whole
Yeah,
town is
yeah.
just being ripped to shreds. He gets up and
He's
he's just
not.
like, golly, you know.
Yeah, he's not using a lot of panels in that book
No, it's
per
super
page.
cinematic, dude. And it's so like it really reminds me of like he's going for such a Americana thing. It's like that dude who
Yeah,
paints
yeah,
the covers for the Saturday Evening Post. You know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah, yeah, definitely.
It's got like this, just like, I mean, the beautiful colors, just, just gorgeous stuff. And
Yeah,
then before I
they
close out,
complement the penciling and the inks perfectly.
one more shot of him like realizing now he knows he can fly and he's about to go to Metropolis, and he's graduated from high school, and he's gonna go to Lana, and before he leaves, he's gonna share this like secret, with her, real fast, and then this gorgeous shot, of them flying over the farm. She's just like, Clark, what are you doing?
Huh. So yeah, so they changed some of the Superman lore.
They do. They do it for not like, I know in this one, like the suit isn't from Krypton. Like his
Yeah,
mom makes the suit in this one, but
right,
like
right.
they have in this one. There's a Clark has an air about him where like his clothes never, like anything Clark wears on his skin that's close, it never gets old and it never gets dirty. You know what I mean? So he
Yeah,
could wear the
yeah,
same shirt for forever and it'll always look brand new and it never
yeah,
gets
yeah.
dirty.
I
So
think John Byrne introduced that
I
that
know. Okay, so
possibility
they
when.
stick with that in this. Look at that beautiful
Yeah,
sunset. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
it is great.
he's about to leave, the farm, and he's out there with his dad one last time, connecting, one last time. And then I've got this great shot of Metropolis for the first time. Of course, we got the classic Daily Planet. And then, he comes in and, a few shots of him, a few shots of our redheaded Lex Luthor, which was very cool because I always want to keep Lex Luthor as a redhead. And
Yeah, yeah. And he's got
quick shot
hair
of him
there.
saving the kid, and this little shot of him's like, "Wow, sure, you look cool. It's a great costume." And he's like, "Yeah, my mom made it for me."
Yeah.
That's the last shot.
Do
Luthor.
they ever say that? Do they ever say that Lex Luthor loses his hair because of Superman?
I don't know. I mean, I know that is the classic trope in earlier versions of it. You know what I mean? But I'm not sure. So now
I
we'll
think
throw it
that
over
would
to
be
you,
cool.
and we'll look. I know. I love it when they stick to the old tropes like that. But let's go ahead and look at some quietly now.
Yep, yep. And apologies to Frank Quietly for me misspelling his name. So I do know a little bit about Frank Quietly. He's a Scottish artist, and I believe he worked on most of the 2000 AD, just like all of the European people did. I mean, that was like their pretty much everybody who worked in comics worked on 2000 AD. It seems like, and there was really nothing else. But my first um, kind of introduction to him was Flex Mentalov, which this is a Doom Patrol um, spin-off kind of thing, and it's really Flex Mentallo is that he's like a reincarnation, not a reincarnation. He's a ripoff of that bodybuilder, in the comics, with
Charles
the
Atlas.
Charles Atlas, yeah, and they actually had to they had to make recalls. I don't know if they had to recall or they had to stop printing or something because Charles Atlas sued them, and I believe either one or they made some sort of concessions that they would stop printing them. I know, like the first issue of this is pretty rare because of that fact, though, which is kind of
Huh.
interesting. But
I'm vaguely aware of the character and the piece that, some of the
yeah,
few things that he's
yeah.
been in, but I didn't know that about Charles Atlas.
Yeah, yeah, and this is one of the first things that I believe he did with Grant Morrison, and Grant Morrison is Scottish, and Frank Wiley. That's actually not his name. I can't remember his name, but Frank Wiley is I don't know what they call it. It's not a pseudonym. It's when you use another word for anyway, he wanted to be like, quite frankly, only changed it up a little bit, and so this is one of the first things that he did, and I just want to kind of touch up on this because it's kind of I like to look at the first appearances or first works that artists do, but then he kind of grows into his own. I think that it's weird because he doesn't change his style at all, though. Like his style stays pretty much the same, which I don't know. I was always thinking that it was kind of an Arthur Adams looking like more cartoony Arthur Adams, which is very weird because Arthur Adams is very cartoony. But just his line work is like you were saying, it's really kind of slim
It's very
or
European. You know what I mean?
very
Anytime I see
European.
like anytime there's no like anytime there's no hatching, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because like
yeah,
hatching
yeah,
is an American thing, you know what I mean? I feel like because it comes from, like I said, like the classic sort of. I mean, that's not right. It's not an American thing. That's a stupid thing to say. I mean, obviously, that's not right. It's a classic art thing, but I feel like it's utilized more in
right,
the
right, right,
American, works than it is in a lot of European works. You know what I mean?
right, right.
Because like,
Well, I know.
like the guys that worked on the Meta Barons and all the Hergé stuff, all the Incall stuff,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
the
Talk about
what's the
hatching
other?
though.
Yeah, none of those have none of those works have hatching in them. None of
Yeah.
the like Blueberry might have a
They
little
don't
bit
have
of hatching in
hatching.
it.
They don't have hatching, but they've got this weird like marks like this the whole all of the branches and stuff or the leaves and stuff. There's that's kind of what they're it's like the Mobius, like you were saying, his not his line work is it's not hatching, but it's some sort of texture that they do. Um but also quietly has like his faces are very elongated as well.
Yeah, he has a very unique style when it comes to like all of that. Like
Yeah,
just everything with him is very. It's there's a certain amount of like detail. You know what I mean? But then like
yeah,
he's
yeah,
not pressing it super hard. He gives you this. He knows where to push it and where to pull it. Is what it kind of feels like. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Because like
yeah. Yeah, it says this is Frank Wiley is the artist, but then Tim Townsend with Parada and Floret are the inkers. So this isn't him inking his own stuff.
yeah, that's curious. Yeah, I'd wonder what this. I'd like to see him. Like with him doing everything, because there's always going to be a slight difference when an artist covers their own material. You know what I mean? It's always
Yeah,
going to be like
yeah,
slightly more prolifically interesting and probably a little bit better or whatever. But yeah, man, I don't know. Like, I think his stuff is gorgeous personally, but it's just like anything. It's completely its own entity. And that's kind of the thing that sets artists apart when they're really able to create that area that just belongs to them.
yeah, yeah. Look at
You
these
know what I
colors on
mean?
this page.
So
That
good,
those
dude.
colors are crazy. Like
That's
the light
gorgeous.
moving and then coming
Mhm.
closer, and
Yeah.
that's just nuts. That's just nuts.
Yeah. You just wish you could get to a level like that.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, this they Tim Sale and Quietly they really do have a lot in common as far as do a lot of their line work and also a lot of
They're
double
not,
page spreads and stuff like
yeah,
that.
not even just that, but they're not afraid to leave a lot of those pages empty. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean? They give
yeah,
they give the work a great sense of space by just keeping all the art, like say at the bottom of the page, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And then you
yeah,
have these great open skies that give you this huge sense of area.
yeah, yeah. And here's more. This is the Superman, the All Star Superman that
Yeah, just
a lot of
fantastic.
people have seen. The colors are super similar to that Tim Sale book you were
They
looking
are.
at.
They are. Well, who colors that? I wonder if it's the same guy.
That's what. Um, of course, they don't have the credits in the very beginning. Why would they do that?
Right,
It
that would
must
make
be.
too much sense, right? Well, sometimes they put it in the very back, like that one always
Sometimes
looked
they
like,
put it in the back. Sometimes they put it,
or like
towards
on the
the
inside
end.
cover or whatever. Like,
Yep. No. Oh, yep. There it goes. Written by Grant Morrison, penciled by Frank Wiley, digitally inked and colored by Jamie Grant. Huh.
Jamie Grant.
Digitally inked and colored. That's unusual, I
Yeah,
think.
Brian Henson. I would think so, but I mean, like, gosh, I know that nowadays they want everything to go fast, and they expect people to be able to do it all themselves. You know what I mean? And every month kind of scenario, it's like Jesus. Like
Yeah.
people. I mean, like it's all about the quality, and I mean, I understand to a certain extent you want to do work that looks good quickly, but can't justify. There's just not enough people that can do the digital stuff and make it meaningful. You know what I mean? Like most of the digital stuff, the average person who uses it, it destroys their art. Like if they do
Oh,
good art and they,
there's a lot of them out there. There's a
I
lot of
know, dude,
digital
I
artists.
know, but I'm just telling you my opinion because like when
Yeah.
they throw a digital line, there's not enough dudes out there that understand that that digital line is just repeating itself again and again and again. Now, if you zoom in on that line, every time you end that line, it's going to have these same 3 little specks in the same, spot or whatever, because it's emulating a real line, but it isn't,
Yeah.
like in
Yeah.
a real line, there's variation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every time
Yeah.
you throw a line, there's a slight, variation that creates originality. When you are inking with a digital line, you are throwing the exact same digital line trillions of times on your page. And most of the time, people don't understand that. Now, if you were some artist, and like I know there's guys out there like Brian Boland who can do it, and they have created enough brushes to where they understand that, and they use different brushes all throughout the page to create a layered effect and give it a much more
yeah.
What's the word I'm thinking of?
More
Traditional
texture.
art
Traditional.
style or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but most of the guys, most of the amateurs that just like all want to ink on their iPads, man. It just because I see some guys that'll do like really nice pencils. I'll be like, wow, that's a really great looking pencil. And you see the ink on it, it's just like, ugh, looks terrible.
Yeah. This is an awesome shot. It's the Bottle City of Candor. In the first one, it looks like huge and humongous, and then it kind of zooms down, and you're like, oh wait, it's a bottle.
That's so cool, man, dude. Like that's the thing about Superman too, is he's just got so much mythology, so much lore. If you're really creative, I mean, there's just so much you could do with that character. And he's just, I mean, some people would call him old fashioned, but to me, I think Superman is the most modern character there is. Somehow his outfit and the whole persona and the whole idea of that thing, I just don't think there could ever be a more modern concept than a godlike alien that comes from another planet that comes to make this planet a better planet. It's just like, it's a super futuristic idea, no matter what era you think of it in. You know what I mean? It wouldn't matter if you thought that up in 28. It'd still be a super futuristic idea. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, that's what the concept is. So even though it's such an old fashioned thing in people's eyes, because it's from the 30s or whatever, and he's just sort of this big Boy Scout, I think down deep, when you get the paradigm right, it's just like, like Batman. Batman's another one like that, where it's like the idea is so perfect. You know what I mean? Like, as long as you do the idea right, it's always going to come out to a certain extent of being right, because the idea is so perfect right off the bat,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why they're the antithesis of each other. You know what I mean? You have Superman all the way on the left and Batman all the way on the right. And, like everything else exists in between them,
Yeah. Yeah. But, I love Quietly's. I see it's his line. He doesn't have the line weight that a lot of different artists have, but it goes with his style.
Like I said, it's very European, you know what I mean? And they do that clean art style where they let the color do like a lot of the lighting and that kind of thing or whatever. And they more, construe their art with like the texture of hair and the texture of like cloth and fabric or like stone and that kind of thing. And then they're not putting a bunch of like lighting on the faces and that kind of stuff. They're not putting a bunch of like realistic lamp lighting coming off of the noses and going down the eyes and the cheeks and that kind of thing. They just kind of leave all that stuff for the colors, which is perfectly fine. Because I mean, art, especially like someone like, say, like Hergé, Mobius, who was basically the guy who would ink and color his own work. So he's looking at the work in those kind of terms. You know what I mean? He knows that, oh, on this face, I'm going to go in and I'm going to, do this right here and do this right here. But later on, I'm going to color this. And when I color it, I'll accent all these things right here. Like maybe if I was just going to do this in pencil or something, I would do all these things to show that. But you don't have to show that, because you're going to come in with colors. And, just like Jake did on that Robert E. Howard, thing that you guys just did together or whatever, you can put that lighting and those effects in later on,
Yeah, definitely. All right. So, Frank Quietly and Tim Sale. After the video, I'm going to post another poll, and you guys vote your hearts out, and we'll see who you guys like better.
I love that cover too, and it's just like I'm saying, like, the art is all there. It's gorgeous, but like that beautiful lighting coming off of the planet, that's not there in ink. You know what I mean? It's like if
Yep.
you were looking at it in black and white, that's not really there other than some slight intonations. But the coloring really brings that alive.
It's
You
the
know what I
color. It's
mean?
the coloring. But yeah.
Yeah.
But the line work. I love his line work, and it's simple, but and yet it has a complexity, like the folds of the his suit and the look on his face and stuff. So I don't know if any of this background is with penciled though. That's what I'm
I don't
wondering.
know. But I love that it's a whole like he's got the whole wide world in his hands, sort of thing
Yeah.
right there,
Yeah.
whatever,
Definitely.
you know. That's
Yeah.
gorgeous, dude.
Definitely.
Like, what a great cover for Superman too.
Yeah.
We could
Yep.
use the Superman in this world right now, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right. So you wanna call it, or you got anything else to
Yeah,
say
I think
about?
that's about it. Yeah, we've covered all of our bases on this one. Once again, we're comic books from coast to coast. I'm Joe Leonardo,
And I'm Alex Turbin.
and we're both comic book creators. I am the creator of Six Lords of Sound. Heavy metal superheroes in space come to Earth to battle for all kinds of awesome stuff like heavy metal and your right to rock. And these guys are a bunch of like cool heavy metal Jim Starlin inspired superheroes that I created. And if you're interested in getting your hands on an issue of Six Lords of Sound, there'll be a black and white version of this coming soon as well. And yeah, I'm going to be making some more copies because I'm down to just like my last few at this point. But if you're interested in getting your hands on one of these, please DM me on Instagram at my Instagram account, which is Awfully World on Instagram. That's AWFULLYWORLD, all one word on Instagram. And I'll be sure to get one of these hot little beauties in your hands right away.
Yep, and
Alex?
I'll try to link your Instagram in the description. I'm sorry, I forget often.
Oh, no worries, dude. No problem.
But and then my stuff is Random Access. This is the only thing that I'm pushing right now. This is the 8-pager that I did with Jake Quirk, and it's just kind of a sneak peek of a story that I did, and he colored the first 8 pages, and then he went on to other projects, and I'm not entirely sure when it's going to be completely finished. But this is fantastic. These 8 pages are really fantastic, and I love his colors in it. It's really great, and his cover. He did the cover for this month's Random Access, and you can check this out either on my Patreon at Patreon /Alex Turbin, or more probably better way to do it would be go to my website alexanderturbin.com, and you can check out basically all of Random Access. This is issue number 28, and but there's also all kinds of Mutandis and Forlorns and a whole slew of books on alexanderturbin.com that you can check out.
Yeah, and always remember, you guys, that Alex is a comic book printer. So if you're a comic book creator and you're interested in getting your books printed, or even if you're just curious about seeing your book in print for the first time and you don't want to commit to a big company, Alex is very reasonable and he's very talented. And you could do yourself a lot worse than hitting him up for a few copies of your book and see what it looks like printed up.
Yep.
You'd be doing yourself
I printed this out, and I printed yours out.
And he absolutely did. And my book had a lot of double page spreads in it, and those are not an easy thing to lay out. And Alex did a really wonderful job. So hats off to Alex, and hats off to the amazing creators that we looked at today. Everybody, please stop by and vote. Let us know you guys are out there. If you're artists, come on. I know there's a lot of you guys out there. Let us know what you think about these two amazing guys. And while you're at it, it'd be cool if you throw us a like and you throw us a follow. And as always, here at the end, Alex, tell them what's going on.
Well, we do all this stuff because we love comics, and I know a lot of you are artists out there. But even if you're not an artist, you're still you're part of the comic book network, and you're part of the comic book creative process. So, like always, keep on creating.
Have a great day, guys.
Thanks for watching.